Brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy be here once more, and also the opportunity seeing the Swamiji. Last time when I met him, his age over 100 years. So after seeing him, I also developed some kind of determination. I must live over 100 years. So I really have deep respect. Then, so now international sort of conference, your university organized. I really appreciate. Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I always talk quite frank. I don't like too much formality. I think much time consumed by formality. Waste of time. Whenever I meet people, talk, firstly, I myself consider as one human being, one of the 7 billion human beings. And we are social animal. So each human being's happiness or life entirely depends on the rest of the community. Now today's situation of the world is such, future of East depend on the West. Similarly, Western future depend on East. Like similarly, North and South. And then on top of that, because of the global warming, so now we have to think about humanity. So in order to be happier humanity, material development is certainly very, very important. But material development or facility provides us only physical comfort, not mental level. Now that we witness. Now number of scientists also now, particularly the medical scientists, now they really found peace of mind is the key factor for good health. There's no question. The family, where loving kindness or affection there, the family, whether rich or poor, very happy. On the other hand, family may be very rich, very powerful, but lack of human affection within the home, within the family. That family, not one happy family. It is very clear. So therefore, as one human being, when we think about humanity, about the world, material development still develop. Very good. But the material development alone will not give us guarantee happy humanity and also peace world. More material development, more greed, and also becoming more richer, more jealousy, more sense of competition. And also, bring frustration, too much stress. These are the source of problem, source of violence. Look, much violence, including those violence in the name of religion. Ultimately, money or power. So, we really need educate people. Material, very important, very good. But meantime, no point to neglect about our inner value. When we talk the inner value in the terms of humanity, religion, no matter how wonderful, cannot cover 7 billion human beings. Obviously, out of 7 billion, 1 billion non-believer. It is fact. Then also, among the believer, I think including our own community, Tibetans, generally, we are Buddhist, we are believer, and particularly our monks, believer. But there are corrupted people there. About the Christians, any religious group, they are corrupted. Religious sort of meaningful teaching become just a lip service. Because lack of real conviction, honest, truthful, compassion. These, you see, without full conviction here, then these talks, these concepts, just lip service, like that. So that also show lack of firm conviction. The moral ethics, compassionate mind is something very, very important for individual well-being and well-being of family, well-being of community, well-being of humanity. Look, every nation, corruption, is something like cancer of the world, everywhere. And also, huge gap, rich and poor. Although many people, many organizations really taking care about the poor people, but the whole society, I think thinking, just me. And not much pay attention about others' well-being due to lack of human affection. So, really, I think our humanity level, a lot of problem. Again, these problem, much problem, our own creation. So then logically, these man-made problem can reduce if humanity makes some effort and with awareness or with sense of universal responsibility. So now here, ethics. Since all major religious tradition really carrying the as a moral principle, ethics. But no matter one single religion, wonderful religion, will never be universal, because universally acceptable. So, then on the other hand, this country, India, Bharat, since last 3,000 years, this country developed concept of secular ethics. So, according Indian understanding about a secular is not only respect all religion, but also respect non-believer. It is something quite unique, and today's world, that kind of concept is very, very relevant. So, in the terms of 7 billion human beings, then 1,000-year-old India's tradition follow or pursue secular way to promote secular ethics through secular way. So that very possible education according to secular way that can be very fit in existing secular education field. So any religion, moral ethics, education about moral ethics based on religion is difficult, like India. So many different traditions there, so many different religious traditions there. So because of that, when you got independence, 47, your constitution based on secular. So therefore, you see, I think now time come. You see, serious thinking, serious research, how to introduce in existing modern secular education field about moral ethics. Now, when we talk moral ethics based on quotation, or Buddha stated such, Mahavira stated such, at modern time, Dr. Ambedkar used to state such. Some people, of course, since Lord, our teacher, used to state, one ant, yellow color. I never saw that. So, yellow robe, so yellow ant. So therefore, with the help of some scientists, some educationists, you see, we are working now last several years. So already carry some sort of, experiment work like that. So I think within next 1 or 2 years, I think some kind of draft about curriculum, right? About secular ethics. That I always is telling, and here also I want to share with you. Then, secondary level, I'm Buddhist. Some of you, this is stress. All major religious traditions, in spite of different philosophical views, all carry same message of love, message of tolerance, message of forgiveness, message of contentment, message of self-discipline. And also more or less same effect. Therefore, we can see among the followers of different religious traditions, some people, wonderful, their life, simplicity, they totally dedicated, serving to others. So that shows all major world religious traditions have same potential to produce such a wonderful human being. And the philosophical field, there's big differences. It is necessary among the Buddha's own follower. You see, because of different mental disposition, therefore, Buddha taught contradictory, different philosophy. Why? The teaching must be suitable according individuals' mental disposition. So like that, so that is, different philosophical views are necessary in order to serve more variety of people. Of course, occasionally I carry medical checkup. Oh, sorry. You see, recently I met one doctor, specialist for my knees. Last a few years, there's some problem. So then the doctor, very specialist, he checked, and then he mentioned my physical condition is wonderful, very good. He mentioned at the same time. My point is, at the same time, he expressed to me, you are not 18 years old person, but nearly 80 years old person. So some problem bound to happen. So like this machine also I think seems old. So therefore, the humanity need different variety of religions. So then, over 2,000 years, different religious tradition already there on this planet. So now India, I think one example, all major religious traditions live together in this country. Occasionally some problem here and there, and that's quite understandable. Nearly a billion population, there's some mischievous people always there. It's understandable. But basically, overall, I think this country really marvelous. You see, all major religious traditions live together. So this also, you see, shows, possible if you make attempt through awareness, through understanding. All world different religious traditions can live together. We can develop genuine harmony among the different religious traditions. That is my second commitment on the level of I am Buddhist. So that I want to share with you. And then perhaps I may, say, appropriate to say, my third commitment, I'm Tibetan. And then Tibetan culture, Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Now, after sort of a lot of meeting with different Buddhists from different Buddhist countries, scholars, practitioners, bhikshus, like that. And then, see, it became very clear. Our tradition, truly the pure Nalanda tradition. Since 8th century, Shantarakshita introduced Buddhism in Tibet more extensively. So Shantarakshita, I think those scholars who knows around 8th century, he was, I think, one of the top sort of scholars and a respected scholar. So fortunately, Tibetan emperor invited him, he accepted. So he introduced the Nalanda tradition. So I usually telling my Indian friends, you Indian, historically our guru, we are Chela. And meantime, I also telling them, we are quite a reliable Chela. Because, the Buddha Dharma, its own area, say, country, India, too much ups and downs. During this period, we, Chela, kept intact Nalanda tradition. So it is sufficient to prove we are quite a reliable chala. So our relation, Indians, Tibetans, relation between Guru and Chala, something very special, very unique sort of relation. I often sit teasing Indian in North India. I usually sit teasing them. Oh, most of the Nalanda masters, most of them come from South India, land of coconut. So coconut may be some special sort of city, something effect of brain. So therefore, I usually teasing South Indian brain is something very special. The ancient time looks like that. Many of the great Buddhist philosophers, logicians, great thinkers, most of them come from South India. So now modern time, we are not yet to test. So like that. So our relation. So therefore, you see, I fully committed for preservation of rich culture, rich Buddhist tradition. And Tibetan Buddhist tradition, you see, because of Nalanda sort of tradition, many Nalanda masters of writing, you see, there are a lot of explanation about our emotion, about our mind. So I often, you see, telling when some meeting with scientists and also public meeting, the ancient Indian psychology, highly developed. So ancient Indian psychology, compare modern psychology, then modern psychology looks like a kindergarten level. Oh, ancient Indian psychology, highly developed. So now that we should not put or remain in the Buddhist religion, should take separately. Buddhism as a religion from Buddhist, but useful information which exists in those Nalanda masters' writing should take separately as an academic subject. Now many scientists, mainly from America, they really appreciate the detailed explanation about the human mind, about the human emotions. So in order to tackle our disturbed mind, the fuller knowledge about the whole system of the mind is very, very necessary. And then also Buddhist philosophy, quantum physics, very similar that of a mathematical philosophy. Nothing exists objectively. So very similar. So it is really worthwhile to preserve rich Tibetan Buddhist tradition which come from Nalanda directly. Then Tibetan culture, I usually make distinction. Religion and the culture. In Tibet case, Buddhism, Buddhist culture. So Buddhist culture is concerned, culture of peace, culture of non-violence, ultimately culture of compassion. That kind of culture, I think really worthwhile to preserve. A number of Tibetan Muslims, I think at least 4 centuries, Muslim community, you see, developed in Tibet. So these Muslim brothers, sisters, their faith is Islam, but their way of life very much in the spirit of Buddhist culture. So the culture is concerned related with community or society. Religion relates with individual. So I found really worthwhile to preserve Tibetan Buddhism, rich Buddhism, and Buddhist culture. So these three commitments, till my death, I carry these commitments. So firstly, we all human beings. So on that level, each of us should make effort to keep inner peace with positive way of thinking, mainly karuna, maitri, and then English word altruism, human affection. That actually we equipped from birth. We received immense affection from our mother. So our blood already absorbed by mother's affection. So more affectionate mind, our physical condition remain better. Constant anger, constant fear, constant hatred actually eating our immune system, according to some scientists. They say that. So therefore, as a human being, it is very, very important, whether believe religion or not, up to individual. But these basic human values, since we are a human being, it is necessary. We are born that way. So please pay more attention. So think these lines. And firstly, you yourself keep or cultivate or keep these inner value, and then share more human brothers, sisters, as a human being. Then the second, you as an Indian, religious harmony, as I mentioned earlier, very strong tradition there. Think that it is not only ancient Indian tradition, but also very, very relevant to today's world. So you Indian, it's a must preserve, must carry genuine harmony or unity among the different religious traditions on the basis of mutual respect, mutual learning. That's very important. So then few Tibetans here, as a Tibetan, we must make every effort to preserve our own rich Buddhist tradition as well as Buddhist culture. Okay. Now perhaps I think few questions, 3-4 questions. I always like you to take questions. So don't shy. Microphone? Ah. Question. I think microphone, this side.
Anybody has any questions?
3 questions.
Yes?
Only 3 questions.
3 questions. Microphone. I would like to take some question from younger generation. Now you are more like, I think, same. Questioner also. Okay.
His Holiness, my question is very youngest question.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I look like that, but question is youngest.
Yes.
Question is, in the Buddhist philosophy as a whole, is there a philosophy like conversion? If it is so, do you think Ambedkar took to Buddhism? Do you call it a conversion? Because the very philosophy that Ambedkar had accepted is at the politically boiling point today. So I want, how do you react to this?
Firstly, in Vinaya, clearly mentioned, and some Buddhist literature clearly mentioned, unless you ask teaching of Buddhism, teaching of Buddha, you should not teach. So that means you should not pursue people to change their faith like that. That's the basics of what's the attitude. Some people say during Ashoka period, some Buddhist missionary also sent some different places. Some historians say that. I don't know. And anyway, in this country, Buddhism is your own religion. One of your own religion. Like Hinduism and Buddhism and Jainism, very close each other. Broadly speaking, the practice of Shila, Samadhi, Prajna, these three practice common. Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, more or less, is the same. The only differences is concept of Atma and Anatma. That's a demarcation. That's a personal matter. But then also, I think this country, unfortunately, caste system, although constitution made very clear all are equal, but still, say, through centuries, that caste system is still there. So I think the Dr. Ambedkar sort of also they changed faith, and thousands you see follower of him because of that reaction. Too much sort of what's the because of the distinctions, discrimination. So that I think the concerned people, especially spiritual leaders, I think should emphasize more to educate public. The caste system, discrimination is outdated, very harmful for the nation, and also harmful for image of spirituality. Now, must come out, talk. That's my feeling. And I'm Buddhist. Of course, I admire Dr. Ambedkar's, I think, because of his real sort of determination. Wonderful. Second question? Yes?
His Holiness, you have started your speech by noble warning subject. I really welcome and heartily congratulate you to initiate that subject. Because what is your message? Because internationally everybody is feeling that global warming is dangerous for the universal. So I want to know your message for the internationally. What is your message for the global warming, to avoid the global warming and to maintain the pollution free from the for the welfare of the human beings? So that is my simple question for you, Your Holiness.
Global warming. So important is we must learn more detailed information about the seriousness of global warming. When I first came to India, no idea ecology problem. Then, after meeting the specialist or expert, then I realized, global, the ecology is so important. Now global warming, according to scientists, now global warming now increasing, and meantime human population also increasing. So things, and the human population now increasing. The end of this century, human population will reach 10 billions. So a lot of problems. And the planet is our only home. We also have the responsibility to look after, to take care of our planet. This is only home. Now, last question.
Hello. His Holiness Sridhar. My question is, everybody in this world has a purpose to live. Do you think that your purpose coming to world has been served?
Karsa. Miss Honor. As I mentioned earlier, you see, number of sort of educated people and the thinkers, they always talk about humanity or about the world. I have number of friends among scientists, really wonderful. They really carry spirit of internationalism, talk about humanity, about the world. So, if we think seriously, then each of us, 7 billion human beings, have moral responsibility to take care about entire humanity. And then, I'm Buddhist. We always pray, entire sentient being. So if your prayer is something very serious, then this sentient being on other planet, other galaxies, is too far. We have no direct connection. But sentient being on this planet, directly or indirectly, we have some connection. Therefore, and particularly humanity. So therefore, you see, as a human being, and then maybe plus as a sort of Buddhist practitioner, I always say, carrying that. Whether material, I never expect within my lifetime some achievement can reach. No. I always make distinction. Generation of 21st century and the 20th century. We, older people, we belong to 20th century. Our century already gone. Now the young people, age below 25, or at least under 35, under 30 years, 30 years old, and 20, and 15, 10, these people are truly generation of 21st century. Now you have the real responsibility to change the world. This 21st century, just beginning of beginning of this century. So if you make an attempt now, your lifetime, better world can be possible. My generation, now no hope. So we now time to come rest. So generation of 20th century create a lot of problem. Now let 21st century of generation, let them solve this problem. Thank you.
We have a question from the 21st generation.
Okay, yes.
With the violence happening around the world, how can we keep peace in ourselves?
So that's, I think when you are very young, you see, take full care by your mother and with mother's milk. At that time, your mind, I think, very peaceful. Then we grown up. The existing sort of the culture or way of life in the society, very much materialistic. Therefore, and then existing education system itself very much oriented about material value. So generation come through that kind of education. First to think money, or facility. Isn't it? So our basic sort of our experience when we received from our parent or mother, then that looks not much relevant. Therefore now education is so important. Basically, some scientists now experimented to very young children, age 2, 3 years old, show some cartoon. So the cartoon shows two persons helping each other. The 2, 3-year-old child, when they see that, very happy and smiling. And then cartoon shows two persons humming each other. Even that young sort of, that age, a little bit sort of reluctant. So that shows basic human nature is more sort of loves to say affection, helping, harmony. That's quite true, logically, because we are social animal. Any social animal, affection is the key factor to bring together. Anger, expelling. So, because we are social animal, you see, we don't like, you see, that, basically. But our way of life, because of the education system, and then gradually, you see, we neglect about our inner value. So now, education field, as I mentioned it before, I think we should include, usually I discuss education of hygiene of emotion. In our education, hygiene of physical already there. Now we should include hygiene of emotion. Then our education become more complete. Many scientists now already carrying some pilot project like that. So I think mainly, you see, think more, not just to see, learn by heart, the books, just books, or just to see, memorize the teacher's sort of lecture. You yourself think more. That's very important. Buddhist tradition, the knowledge, 3 levels. Knowledge from Kasota, based on books or some other sort of talk. Then further analyze, think. Then you reach 2nd level of knowledge. That is knowledge through contemplation. That now usually we call Praman. Praman. So very firm. Some third person say, oh, your view is wrong. Then since you thoroughly investigate, you thoroughly sort of analyze, so you have firm conviction, and someone say it is wrong, then you have this sort of the ability to say, no, I'm right, because I thoroughly analyze, thoroughly investigated. Then 3rd level of knowledge is familiarize this knowledge. Then this knowledge then become habit your life. Clear? So that's the 3 level. So you should totally rely on your teacher's lecture. You yourself must analyze, think. Okay. Thank you.
Your Holiness, with your permission, we have the last question coming up from Swamiji on the stage.
Okay.
Your Holiness, since this area is full of youngsters and the premises is University of Tumkur, Swami Vivekananda said education should be man-making education, character-building education. But what we see, present world, especially I am speaking on behalf of the young India. What's your message to young Indians? And also, it appears that whole world will be full of youth energy. So, since you are a world teacher, from this podium, we want to know what is your exact message for the youngsters, let alone the education. Education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. You have explained it. But we want what is your opinion about the younger generation's education. Please
Yes, sir.
help us.
그래, 여보시면 I think basically, as a social animal, and also essence of all major religious tradition, you see, if possible, serve other, help other, bring more happiness to more people. If that is difficult, then at least restrain harming other. That's the main sort of practice. All major religious tradition teach us that. And then in order to do that, you have to use our brain, helping other, at least restrain harming other. What is the benefit to yourself? Sometimes aggressive or big liar, for temporary, sometimes more successful. So then the people, practice of compassion is something wonderful, but not very sort of practical or relevant. So that, I think, we have to sort of change through education, through awareness. As I mentioned earlier, I gave talks, I think, many occasions. I never took Buddha's quotation. Buddha's quotation only for Buddhists. I usually take something like quotation, almost like quotation from scientific sort of finding. So that they actually experimented. So Buddha also stated, "Oh, my follower, bhikshus or scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." So that I consider that's a very scientific way. So I think one story, I think about 40 years ago, I developed a serious interest, dialogue or talk with modern scientists. Then my friend, one American Buddhist, I just mentioned that. Then that person told me, be careful. Science is killer of religion, religious faith. Then I reflect this Buddha's sort of message. You must carry investigation, experiment. So like Nagarjuna, and then Aryadeva and Chandrakirti, these, you see, even Buddha's own word, when they find contradictory with reason, then they reject. So therefore, you see, as a Buddhist, if certain concept which you believe, but according to scientific research, if it goes as contradictory, then we have to accept the reality. Like that. So, one aspect of Buddha, I usually describe Buddha Shakyamuni was ancient Indian, not only thinker and spiritual leader, but also scientist. So finally, the investigation, analyze, experiment is the key factor to find the reality and to find the interest for short-term, long-term interest. Nobody wants a problem, but many problems created by humans themselves. Why? Ignorance, short-sightedness, due to lack of holistic. So education is the key factor to widen our perspective and long-term interest, like that. Thank you.